Okay, page 7. Rolls, muffins, or any sort of bread may be made to taste new when 2 or 3 days old by dipping it uncut in water and baking it fresh or toasting. Eggs may be bought cheapest when the hens first... Okay, we read that. Actually, we're on page 8. Parsley should be cut close to the stalks and dried on tins in a very cool oven. Parsley should be cut close to the stalks and dried on tins in a very cool oven. It preserves its flavor and color and is very useful in winter. Artichoke bottoms, which have been slowly dried, should be kept in paper bags, and truffles, morels, lemon peel, and so on in a dry place ticketed. In towns, poultry being usually sold ready picked, the feathers, which may occasionally come in small quantities, are neglected. But orders should be given to put them into a tub free from damp, and as they dry to change them into paper bags, a few in each. They should hang in a dry kitchen to season. Fresh ones must not be added to those in part dried, or they will occasion a musty smell, but they should go through the same process. In a few months they will be fit to add to beds or to make pillows, without the usual mode of drying them in a cool oven, which may be pursued if they are wanted before 5 or 6 months. The best means to preserve blankets from moths is to fold and lay them under the feather beds that are in use, and they should be shaken occasionally. When soiled, they should be washed, not scoured. Candles made in cool weather are best, and when their price and that of soap, which rise and fall together, is likely to be higher, it will be prudent to lay in the stock of both. This information the chandler can always give. They are better for keeping 8 or 10 months and will not injure for 2 years, if properly placed in the cool, and there are few articles that better deserve care in buying and allowing a due quantity of according to the size of the family. The price of starch depends upon that of flour. The best will keep good in a dry, warm room for some years. Therefore, when bread is cheap, it may be bought to advantage and covered close. Pickles and sweetmeats should be preserved from air. Where the former are much used, small jars of each should be taken from the stock jar to prevent frequent opening. Some of the lemons and oranges used for juice should be pared, first to preserve the peel dry. Some should be halved, and when squeezed the pulp cut out, and the outsides dried for grating. If for boiling in any liquid, the first way is best. When these fruits are cheap, a proper quantity should be bought and prepared as hereafter directed, especially by those who live in the country where they cannot always be had, and they are perpetually wanted in cookery. When whites of eggs are used for jelly or other purposes, contrive to have puddings, custard, etc., to employ the yolks also. Should you not want them for several hours, beat them up with a little water and put them in a cool place, or they will be hardened and useless. It was a mistake of old to think that the whites made cakes and puddings heavy, On the contrary, if beaten long and separately, they contribute greatly to give lightness, are an advantage to paste, and make a pretty dish beaten with fruit to set in cream, etc. If copper utensils be used in the kitchen, the cook should be charged to be very careful not to let the tin be rubbed off, and to have them fresh done when the least defect appears, and never to put by any soup, gravy, etc. in them, or any metal utensil. Stone and earthen vessels should be provided for those purposes, as likewise plenty of common dishes that are table set may not be used to put by cold meat. Vegetables soon sour, and corrode metals and glazed redware, by which a strong poison is produced. Vinegar, by its acidity, does the same, the glazing being of lead or arsenic. In hot weather, when it is difficult to preserve milk from becoming sour and spoiling the cream, it may be kept perfectly sweet by scalding the new milk very gently without boiling, and setting it by in the earthen dish or pan that it is done in. This method is pursued in Devonshire, and the milk is not skimmed under 24 hours, and would equally answer in small quantities for coffee, tea, and so on. Cream already skimmed may be kept 24 hours if scalded without sugar, and by adding to it as much powdered lump sugar as shall make it pretty sweet, will be good 2 days, keeping it in a cool place. Syrup of cream may be preserved as above in the proportion of 1.25 pounds of sugar to a pint of perfectly fresh cream. Keep it in a cool place 2 or 3 hours. Then put it in 1 or 2 ounce phials and cork it close. It will keep good thus for several weeks, and will be found very useful on voyages. To cool liqueurs in hot weather, dip a cloth in cold water, and wrap it round the bottle 2 or 3 times, then place it in the sun. Renew the process once or twice. The best way of scalding fruits or boiling vinegar is in a stone jar on a hot iron hearth, or by putting the vessel into a saucepan of water called a water bath. The beautiful green given to pickles formerly was made by the use of bell metal, brass, or copper, and consequently very injurious to the stomach. If chocolate, coffee, jelly, gruel, bark, etc. be suffered to boil over, the strength is lost. Marbles boiled in custard, or anything likely to burn, will, by shaking them in the saucepan, prevent it. Gravies or soups put by should be daily changed into fresh scalded pans. When there is fear of gravy meat being spoiled before it be wanted, season it well, and lightly fry it, which will preserve in 2 days longer. But the gravy is best when the juices are fresh. A receipt for gravy that will keep a week is given under the article of sauces. The cook should be encouraged to be careful of coals and cinders. For the latter, there is a new contrivance to sift, without dispersing the dust of the ashes, by means of a covered tin bucket. Small coal wetted makes the strongest fire for the back, but must remain untouched until it cake. Cinders, lightly wet, give a great degree of heat, and are better than coal for furnaces, ironing stoves, and ovens. The cook should be charged to take care of jelly bags, tape for the collared things, and which, if not perfectly scalded, are kept dry, give an unpleasant flavor when next used. Cold water thrown on cast iron when hot will cause it to crack. Hard water spoils the color of vegetables. A pinch of pearl ash or salt of wormwood will prevent that effect. When sirloins of beef, loins of veal or mutton come in, part of the suet may be cut off for puddings or to clarify. Dripping will baste everything as well as butter. Fowl and game excepted, and for kitchen pies, nothing else should be used. The fat off a neck or loin of mutton makes a far lighter pudding than suet. Meat and vegetables that the frost has touched should be soaked in cold water 2 or 3 hours before they are used, or more if much iced. When put into hot water or to the fire until thawed, no heat will dress them properly. Meat should be well examined when it comes in warm weather, and if flies have touched it, the part must be cut off and then well washed. In the height of summer, it is a very safe way to let meat that is to be salted lie an hour in the coldest water, rubbing it well there in any part likely to have been fly blown. Then wipe it perfectly dry and have ready salt and rub it thoroughly into every part, leaving a handful over it besides. Turn it every day and rub the pickle in, which will make it ready for the table in 3 or 4 days. If it is desired to be very much corned, wrap it in a well-floured cloth, having rubbed it previously with salt. The latter method will corn fresh beef fit for table the day it comes in, but it must be put into the pot when the water boils. To be continued, Lord willing, in the next video.